May 2017, question 4B. Biashara Limited is an import-export company based in Kenya. On 1st January 2017, the company exported coffee worth $140,000 to the US on a 5-month credit. Additional information. The exchange rate in Forex market were or are expected to be as follows. So you have on 1st January 2017 and on that 1st May 2017, that's after 5 months. Number 2, the lending and the borrowing rate in the two countries are as follows. So you have the annual lending rate and then we have the annual borrowing rate. Then number 3, the importer will settle the outstanding amount on that 1st May 2017. That's after 5 months. Required. Using the interest rate parity relationship, compute the expected 5-month forward exchange rate as at that 1st May 2017. That's the interest rate put parity. Then number 2, advise Biashara Limited on which is the better hedging strategy between a forward contract and a money market hedge. Now, before we look at that question, so we have some steps forward when you are doing the money market hedge. Steps forward in money market hedge. So now when you are doing the money market hedge, you can be hedging what we call, you are hedging the payments or you are hedging the receipts. You are hedging the payment or you are hedging the receipts. So what you usually do, step number one, when you are dealing with this, first of all, you have to determine the foreign currency and you have to determine the home currency. After you determine that, step number 1, you need to borrow. If you want to hedge, you borrow the amount in foreign currency. You borrow the amount in foreign currency using the borrowing rate of that currency. That's step number 1. You borrow that amount in the foreign currency. Then step number 2, you convert that amount to home currency, at or using spot rate. That's the second step. Then step number 3, after you convert them into home currency, deposit that amount. Deposit the amount in home bank account. Home bank account till maturity. So those are the steps forward. Remember, in this case, we say that we are hedging the payment or we are hedging the receipts. So first of all, if you want to hedge, first of all, you borrow the amount, either the amount you want to receive or the amount to pay. You borrow that amount in the foreign currency. Then, after you borrow, you convert that amount to home currency at spot rate. Then, you deposit the amount in home bank account until maturity. This is what I mean. So what you usually do, assuming you are supposed to make the payment in the 5 months from now, for you to determine the amount to borrow, that means you have to get the present value. Assuming now you are supposed to pay or receive like 5 million. You'll take 5 million, you want to know the amount to borrow. Assuming you are supposed to settle 5 million after 5 months. So this 5 million, first of all, if you want to know the amount to borrow, you take the 5 million, then you get the present value if you borrow now. So 1 plus r raised to power n. Then after you borrow that amount, you know the amount to borrow, convert that amount into home currency. After you convert them into home currency, remember you'll convert using the spot rate or the current market rate. After you convert them into home currency, then deposit that amount in the bank. If you deposit them now, it will grow to maturity in the 5 months. If you deposit now, if you want to know the amount will mature at how much, that means you get the future value after. If you deposit now, after the 5 months, how much will be the amount? So that means you get the future value which is you take the amount 1 plus r raised to power n. Present value is negative n, but for the future value is just n. In this case, n will be always be 1. If you are given 5 months, just take 5 over 12. If it's 6 months, 6 over 12, so that your n can always be 1. So those are the steps forward. Now, I want you to go through that question again. First of all, you need to understand which is the home currency, which is the foreign currency. And you tell me which amount are we going to borrow with, which one are we going to lend with. So can you go through that question again? So now let's go through that question again. Biashara Limited is an import-export company based in Kenya. So that means our home currency, it's Kenya. That means we'll be using the Kenyan shillings. On 1st January 2017, the company exported coffee worth $140,000 to US. That means the foreign currency in this case is US dollars. It's US dollars. Then additional information. The exchange rates in the forex market were or are expected to be as follows. So we have 1st January 2017. Now that's what we call the spot rate. Then on that 1st May 2017, 102, that's the future rate or the forward rate. The lending and the borrowing rate in the two countries are as follows. We have Kenya, USA, then we have the lending and we have the borrowing. The importer will settle the outstanding amount on that 1st May 2017. So let's first of all start with number 1, require number 1. Using the interest rate parity relationship, compute the expected 5-month forward market rates. So how do we determine that? So we have said that this is the formula. FO is equals to SO 1 plus the interest rate in the home currency, you divide by 1 plus the interest rate in the foreign currency. So we are looking at the forward rate because interest rate parity, compute the expected 5-month forward exchange rate. That's what we want. But we already have SO. Our SO here, in this case, 1st January, it's 100. That's the amount. So you take 100 times 1 plus. So now, first of all, you need to get the interest rate at home currency, the interest rate at foreign currency. Let me take you back. Remember I said that step number 1. You need to borrow using the foreign currency. Now, in this case, the foreign currency is US dollars. So that means the rate will be how much? You are borrowing in foreign currency. That means you are borrowing in US dollars. If you are borrowing in US dollars, so you come to USA, then we have lending, we have borrowing. That means use the borrowing rate, which is 15%. So interest rate at the foreign rate, so it's 15%. But remember, we just require for 5 months times 5 over 12. 5 over 12. In that case, you'll get 0.0625. Home currency, then we say that you borrow in the foreign currency, then you deposit that amount in the home currency. So that means the interest rate in the home currency, we have Kenya here. That means you annual lending rate. That means you deposit. You deposit. So in Kenya, the rate is 18. You borrow in the foreign currency, USA, you borrow at 15. Then you convert that amount to home currency. So in Kenya, the annual lending rate in Kenya is 18. You are not borrowing in Kenya. So here it's 18% times 5 over 12. And that one will get 0.075. So now let's go back to our formula. FO, it's SO, which is the spot rate, 1 plus interest rate in the home currency. In home currency, we have gotten it's 0.075. You divide by 1 plus interest rate in the foreign currency. Interest in the foreign currency, we have it's 0.0625. If you do like that, you'll be getting 101.18. That's number 1. Let's go to number 2. We go to number 2. Number two, the question was, number two, that advise Biashara Limited on which is the better hedging strategy between a forward contract and a money market hedge. Between a forward contract, let's start with the forward. Forward contract. In this case, we are hedging the receipts. We are the one who we exported. So that means we're expecting to receive. So we are receiving. So in this case, how much are we expected? Remember, we have exported coffee worth 140,000. So it's 140,000 US dollars. You convert them into Kenyan shilling. How much will you receive? You multiply. It's a forward contract. So in that case, we have seen our forward, taking into consideration the interest rate, will be 101.18. So that means after 5 months, you will receive how many Kenyan shillings? So you'll get 14,165,200. That's the forward contract. Now for the forward contract, in the 5 months time, taking into consideration the interest rate, you take the 140, which is the amount we are supposed to receive, but we have seen the forward rate, taking into consideration the interest rate, would be 1.01.18 in 5 months time. So it's 140, you multiply by the prevailing interest rate at that time, which would be 101.18. In that case, you get 14,165,200. Now let's look at the other strategy. Let's look at money market hedge. Money market hedge. Kindly pay attention here. Money market hedge. Step number one, we have said that under money market hedge, you borrow the amount in foreign currency. So step number one, borrow the amount in foreign currency. How much are we going to borrow? We have said that you have to get the present value, which is the amount, which is 140, 1 plus R. You are getting the present value, 1 plus R. Remember, we are borrowing in US dollars. And the borrowing rate in US dollars, was 15% interest at foreign currency. It's 15 times 5 over 12, the rate was 0.0625 raised to power -1. You borrow the amount in foreign currency, which is US dollars. So it's 140 US dollars, 1 plus 0.0625. That was the borrowing rate in US dollars in 5 months time. And by that means you are now supposed to borrow an amount of 131,765 US dollars. This is the amount you are supposed to borrow now. Then after you get this amount, step number 2, you are supposed to convert the borrowed amount of the US dollars to Kenyan shillings, now to home currency, at spot rate. At spot rate. Now at spot rate, we are told that on 1st January 2017, 100 Kenyan shillings is equals to 1 US dollars. So 100 shillings, 1 US dollars. So in this case, we have 131,765 US dollars. You convert them into Kenyan shillings. And the spot rate, you convert the US dollar to Kenyan shillings at spot rate. And the spot rate is 100. So by that, how much do you get? So by that, you'll get 13,176,500 Kenyan shillings. Then, after you convert this amount into home currency, you deposit them in home bank until it mature in the 5 months. So that means you deposit Kenyan shillings in home deposit account till maturity. So in this case, you have 13,176,500. Then you deposit them for the next 5 months. So that means in this case, you are getting the future value. You deposit them now, in 5 months' time, how much would be the amount? So it's 1 plus R. In this case, you are depositing in home currency. So, and we have seen that the interest rate in the home currency, you'll deposit at the rate of 18%. For 5 months, it will be 0.075 raised to power 1. When you're getting the present value, it's -1. When you're getting the future value, it's just +1. So that means in 5 months' time, the amount will be 14,164, 737.5 Kenyan shillings. So now the question was, advise the company or biashara whether the forward market would be preferred or the money market. Now for the forward contract, this is the amount, remember you are receiving, using the forward market, you receive 14,165. Using the money market hedge, in 5 months' time, you will receive 14,164. So now between the two strategies, remember you are receiving, you expect to receive, you take the strategy where you're receiving the highest amount. So in this case, you can see the forward is 165, this is 164. So forward contract is the best strategy. So that the forward contract is the best. So now, just a quick recap. I need those steps to be at your fingertips. Let me pardon again. For the money market hedge, we have said that borrow the amount in foreign currency. After you borrow, convert that amount into home currency at spot rate or using the spot rate. After you convert them, deposit them in the home bank for the next period, for it to mature. If it was 5 months, deposit for 5 months. 6 months, you do the same. Borrow in the foreign currency. Number 2, convert that amount to home currency. Then you deposit that amount into home bank account until it matures.